Welcome to the National Credit Awareness and Resolution Association podcast, your source for navigating debt repayment challenges during tough economic times. Today we'll explore how to effectively use creditors' tools. And today is the introduction to the Debtor-Proposed Repayment Solutions. NCARA aims to bridge the gap between debtors and creditors as a paradigm shift allows debtors to propose their own repayment solutions. We'll share insider tips to help you leverage this knowledge and strengthen your position. Let's get started. It's about time you get a little attention. I'm very concerned about the near-term economy and those businesses whose annual revenues are up to $10 million. This guidance is just a little common sense and covers some of the basics the creditor or the commercial lender is likely to follow and their expectations for you as a borrower. For my part in all this, I know what I'm talking about. I was a commercial banker involved with special assets or classified or troubled problem commercial loans of many shapes and sizes for nearly 3 decades, through the recessionary periods since the early 1980s. Also as a commissioned credit examiner for the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco at the time of the Great Recession up until about 2021, I saw behind the scenes at large banks from Wall Street to the regional and smaller community banks. So I know what's going on. This is my wheelhouse, and hardly anybody will be paying any real attention to small businesses like yours during the next economic downturn. So, some guidance for small businesses with revenues under $10 million. The coming debt crisis. I believe the U.S. government is on an unsustainable debt path that will, due to any number of or combination of shock events, effectively result in national and international debt crises. What do you think? Let's compare notes. You can find a list of my 20 shock risk events in the Debt Crisis Problem podcast. In short, in the next several years, due to the overwhelming caseloads of defaults coming, there will be a natural shift to the debtor to help come up with its own repayment solutions, primarily through pro forma forecasting. The business owner that understands the banking system and how most regulated banks must operate, the better the odds of having a successful repayment strategy outcome that keeps you in business. I know there's a huge gap coming due to the higher overwhelming volume of debtors needing guidance versus the level of assistance financial institutions can even offer. Because most debtors are not prepared sufficiently, they're not prepared to step up, the creditors will not be able to do their job well enough without all the mismatch causing a paradigm shift. This shift will be that the debtors will have to learn to prepare its own repayment solutions. And that's where NCARA, NCARA.org, comes in. I'm going to do what I can to help create a stronger bridge between debtor and creditor, or the borrower and the lender. You may be quite surprised as you see behind the lender's curtain in these podcasts. Be certain to seek appropriate guidance and oversight of legal counsel in your financial affairs. This short ad is sponsored by the Debt Crisis Problem podcast. Attention listeners, please join us at thetunabudget.com to tune into the Debt Crisis podcast, where in plain English we discuss the 20 risks that could fuel a serious economic downturn. We explore these critical risks and offer practical insights for navigating financial uncertainty. Join us for thought-provoking discussions that encourage transparency and awareness. Subscribe now to stay informed and be ready for whatever comes next. So what about this paradigm shift from creditor to debtor? You must have your say as to what happens or what is appropriate in terms of your ability to repay. When it comes to debt resolution in periods of economic downturn, there's going to be gaping Grand Canyons between debtors and their creditors that causes a paradigm shift from the old model where creditors took the lead. Lenders are pretty good at getting loans approved in such days, if not in just days, if not minutes, depending on the size and complexity of the deal. Creditors, however, are not as good at getting the money back. This paradigm shift from the creditor taking the lead and formulating restructuring plans to that of the debtor preparing, presenting, and negotiating with creditors will allow the debtor to repay the loans they promised to pay. Debtors need to step forward, prepare, and take full responsibility for their debt repayment obligations, certainly a lot more than they're doing now. They should know that they are also entitled to negotiate repayment solutions on a regularly adjusted, best efforts basis. In a severe downturn, debtors need to take charge and demonstrate ownership of their own repayment strategies. Debtors are expected to repay their obligations in full, of course, even throughout periods of serious economic downturn, and in good faith. Thank you for joining us. Today, we covered the creditor tool, the introduction to the Debtor-Proposed Repayment Solutions, as debtors prepare to propose their own repayments. We want to hear from you. Share your own credit risk memo and experiences with us at NCARA.org. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe for notifications of future podcasts. Your feedback helps small businesses stay in business. Until next time, step up and take responsibility for your own debt repayment solutions. Thanks again.